I remember correctly, Malaj, I had argued,
Don't argue and then.
if you set aside Basha,
No, there is no setting aside. This is not an appeal.
if you do not agree with Basha, then 81 amendment doesn't arise. That's what I had said. If you do not agree with Basha, then the 81 amendment need not be gone into. What my Lord the Chief Justice said is right. If you say that Basha was right, Malaj, then the question of 81 amendment comes in. But if Basha was wrong, 81 amendment need not be discussed.
Vice versa.
For deciding whether it is right or wrong,
Allow me, sir, to continue.
81 will have to be examined.
I am not saying no, I'm just, please allow me. So if your Lordship's Malaj on our argument says that Basha is wrongly decided, you don't have to go to the 81 amendment. So decide that question, Malaj. What's the problem with that?
Point, Mr. What you are saying, look, Parliament amended the Act in 1981 to really, should we say in a colloquial sense, to override Basha.
That's
Right? Now, what you are arguing is that if you come to the conclusion that Basha was wrong,
Yes.
then there was no question.
Yes.
But even so, if we come to the conclusion that that Basha was wrong, we'll have to still, we'll have to still deal with the validity of the 81 Act.
No, but then, Malaj, it goes without saying whether it is trying to override the judgment or not. It is established by the minority, recognized under the...
But suppose the Lordship decides that Basha is right, then what?
Don't allow. That question will not arise.
So what happens then if we decide that Basha is right?
If the Basha is right, Malaj, then the 81 issue will have to be gone into.
Only then.
Then by the regular bench, that's their...
Then only.
That is,
Problem is
that's
just
the only issue that is referred to your Lordships, Malaj.
Just now you
Whether
said
Basha
that
is right or
1981 amendment survived.
Yes.
Problem is that just now you were saying that 1981 amendment is still operative.
If your Lordship
your
agree
argument
with
is that
Basha,
it is still operative, then we have to go into the validity of that.
Basha, Malaj. If your Lordships agrees with Basha, then of course the 81 amendment is there. If you disagree, no, don't look at it today, Malaj. Just look at Basha, is it right or wrong? And if your Lordship says the Basha is wrong, 81 doesn't matter.
What if the court says Basha is
That
right?
becomes an academic issue. Why? Because it is established by the minority and under 31 Malaj is recognized.
If we say that Basha is wrong,
Yeah.
then according to you, then the amendment in that sense recognizes what we feel also is the correct position.
Then, Malaj,
So what if we come to the conclusion that Basha is right?
then you have to go into the 81 Malaj.
But then if we say that Basha is right, then who goes into the 81 amendment?
Malaj, it is not referred to 7 judges. The 3 judges who would hear it will go into it.
That's the problem.
No, it's not a problem. That's the process.
That's not the.
That's the reference is only que Basha. The reference is not que the 81 amendment. I don't think that we should refer, that we should go into that.
Keep having a bite. Conveniently, keep having a bite again.
Reflect on this at lunch. In deciding, your argument is that if you come to the conclusion that Basha is wrong, then the 81 amendment really becomes redundant. But just reflect on this. Can we decide on whether or not Basha is correct without looking at the statute as a composite whole, including the 81 amendment? Okay, technically today, true, as the solicitor said, 81 amendment is now not on the statute book because it has been set aside by the Allahabad High Court. But everything is live before our court. Now, may not be live before the 7 judges, but it's live before the Supreme Court. Therefore, in deciding whether Basha is right or wrong, Basha itself has interpreted the provisions of the statute while coming to a conclusion, right? It relies on all the provisions of the statute.
That's correct.
Now, can we, while deciding on the correctness of Basha, say that we will look at only some of the provisions of the statute, but we look at the statute minus the 81 amendment? That may be very artificial for us.
I'll tell you, Lordship, the problem that will arise. If I may, I'm sorry. Then your Lordship, just give me a few minutes, Malaj. Either we look at Basha in on the basis of what happened in 1920, that is, look at Basha through the lens of 1920, or we look at Basha in the context of Article 31 when it came into force in 1950 and what happened thereafter. His argument throughout has been, don't look at anything else, look at what happened in 1920. That's his argument. Once, please, if you don't want to look at Basha in the context of 20, please then look at this in the context when the Constitution came into force. Then apply all the principles of constitutional law in Article 30 to look at Basha. Then you'll have to do that also. And then 1981. That's not an easy exercise.
Lord Basha also, Lord examines
Therefore,
51
that question
and
will arise.
65th amendment.
Therefore, you'll have to look at Article 30, sub-Article 1.
And
you
two-
don't look at Basha
two amendments.
on the lens of 1920 then. Then you'll have to do into all that. And my respectful submission is, Mullahs, that exercise need not be done. We are ready to, Mullahs, to argue Basha in 1920. Because that's how it happened. And that's throughout what has been said. Look at the Constitution, look at the regulations, look at what Basha says, look at what the rector said, look at what the chancellors have appointed. This is all Basha 1920. We'll answer that.
Basha, on the basis of the position as it stood in 1968.
Yes. Look at it and see whether it's it was established by a minority or not. It's all you have to look at.
There is one more aspect, my lords.
Let me just finish.
Supposing, my lord, your lordship considers 1981 Act also, and your lordship holds that that act is valid, it's unnecessary to examine
You
Basha.
are right, Mr. Deveri, but it's equally valid in case we hold that
I'm
Basha is.
saying consider together, not
So,
separate.
so the 81 Act, if it is valid, then Basha in any case is overridden then according to us. Because, I mean, that's the argument on.
Even if Basha remains valid, the new act has come which is valid and therefore.
Lord, what they want to do, let me put it, Lord, that it was bluntly what they want to do.
Basha relies upon 1951 and 1965
Amendment also, yes.
If part of the 1965 amendment has been done away with the 1981 amendment.
1981.
Yes, you go into that whether it was done validly or not.
Impossible to separate this.
Not looking at Basha in the context
That's
of
what we were saying
51
from
or
the beginning.
65.
Truncating.
You're not looking at Basha in the context of 51 or 65.
On one basis. This issue had come up earlier and we discussed and thereafter we proceeded on this basis. We are examining the validity of the ratio in Basha.
That's all.
What? Number one. Number two, the reason was, why we said so was, we have to see the status of AMU as on the date when Constitution was enforced. In case we come to a conclusion, just 1 minute, please. In ways in Basha, when we read, we found there were two aspects dealt with specifically in Basha, or rather three aspects which were specifically dealt with in Basha. One is, what is the effect of statutory enactment of a university, of creating a university? Basha says, this is the enactment which establishes the university. This is the only aspect dealt with in 1981 amendment. The second aspect dealt with in Basha, now we can hold, this bench can hold, yes, the statute established the, established the university and therefore AMU came into existence. In which case we uphold that, then 1981 amendment has to be examined. And that can be examined by a separate bench, because then the limited issue is, what is the consequence of that amendment? Number one, there the argument which will arise is, could the legislature, by merely deleting the word establishment, override the judgment of this court? That will be the issue, which is a separate issue. We have not addressed, nobody has addressed us. We have already gone through by about 5 days or 4 days. Nobody has addressed us on this. The second aspect which is dealt with in Basha relates to administration. And it says it is not administered by the minority right from 1920 or as of in 1950. That's the most important legal issue, because both the sides concede that both the things have to be, in order to be a minority institution, it should be established as well as and administered. So that's a legal issue. The third point raised is, they holds the amendment made in 1981. The Basha holds it's not established, de facto established by the minority, and that issue is again before us. So really speaking, we need not go into 1981 amendment per se to decide whether Basha is rightly decided or wrongly decided.
So, Solicitor, what, Mr. Dwivedi, just 1 second. What we'll suggest is this. You are in the midst of your argument replying to them on merits.
Yes.
You can conclude your argument. Anyway, even if we decide to go into the validity of the Allahabad judgment, you said they should open first. We understand why you're saying that, no difficulty. So on this aspect, you complete your submissions. When we read Basha with you, again, we will be able to then fine tune our own understanding on whether that issue of the Allahabad judgment should or should not be decided together. We will read Basha with you. So when you are reading Basha with us, or for us, you can also focus on these issues which Mr. Dwivedi, Mr. Kaul and you are saying requires us to also decide the issue of Allahabad in this reference. So right now we can continue with your submission because you're now on the almost at the latter fag end of your at the end of your submissions.
Certainly, that's not the.
So we'll conclude your
It's
submission.
really this.
It's the appropriateness.
My lord.
Yeah, appropriateness, we will hear you at the end. Once you have argued on Basha,
Only give me
we
a
will
minute.
hear you for 5 minutes on that, and then we will hear the others anyway, because this has to be dealt with. The merits, everybody will argue. Then on the appropriateness of considering the issue of Allahabad as well, we will hear each of you and then take a call.
I'll just, my lord, add one thing. I'll just add one thing. I bow down.
That's fine.
My lord, what has happened is this.
As far as the 51 amendment is concerned, Basha says it was just in conformity with the constitution. We have argued that the 65 amendment was an emergency amendment, but it was reversed in 81. To that extent, my lord, we can certainly go into it depending on.
It's not separable. On this argument, it's not
Okay.
separable.
Now, you have shown us this. Do you have anything else that we need to see in the chart so that then after lunch we can,
The chart, my lord, is,
now,
but my lord, what is
what is
happening?
the remaining part that now?
What
you
is
want-
happening is this. And let me, my lord, be a little more clearer rather than being diplomatic. What they want is, they are taking a chance whether Basha is right or not. If your lordships are satisfied that Basha is right, they will have a second round to say that even if 7 judges said Basha is right, now have a second round that now the basis is taken away and refer this question.
No, if Basha is right, no.
But that may not happen. In case we uphold Basha or agree with the ratio in Basha on the second and third aspect, they may not have any say in it.
My lord,
On the
suppose-
second and
suppose-
third aspect, that is de facto, it was established by.
No,
de facto
I
it
think
was-
what perhaps solicitor is arguing is that if we come to the conclusion that Basha is right, then the issue of the validity of the 81 amendment will be before a lesser bench, a lesser
Yes,
constitution.
that's
a
what they
three-judge
want, a
bench.
second
And
round, my lord.
The argument there
And
could be that, look, the basis of Basha is taken away by the
Therefore, no
1981.
need to go into this. That's all, Melissa. That's all that they will